Welcome to Tabernacle Talk. Tabernacle Talk is a Bible study podcast brought from Tabernacle Baptist Church in Essex, Maryland. I'm your host, Brian Self. We hope this podcast encourages you to know Christ, grow in His Word, and show His love to others. Let's dive right in. Welcome back to Tabernacle Talk. Today we're looking at our verse for the day, and today's verse for the day from the YouVersion Bible app is Luke 9, verses 23 and 24. Luke 9, verses 23 and 24. Jesus is talking with his disciples. He has asked them, who do people say that I am? They give the various answers, a prophet, John the Baptist, Elijah, and he asked them, who do you say that I am? And of course, they say the Messiah, the Christ, Son of the living God. And he tells them, all right, you're right, but don't tell anyone about it, because he, again, calls himself the Son of Man from Daniel 7, the human and divine ruler that will be crushed by this world's kingdoms and systems, and yet will be raised by God to rule and to reign over everything. So he says it's necessary for the Son of Man to die, to suffer, to be crucified, and to rise again the third day. And then he says this in verses 23 and 24. Then he said to them all, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me will save it. Going to read that one more time. If anyone wants to follow me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me will save it. Okay, these verses get to the heart of what it means to be a follower of Jesus, like what we are actually being called to as far as our day-to-day life. And it's the different way that Jesus wants us to think about the world in light of who he is and what he has accomplished. Jesus, he came to this earth because the way that humanity currently lives is absolutely bankrupt. There is no true lasting life. There is no relationship with God. There is no flourishing in the way that God created us to within the Garden of Eden, that we would rule over the animals and the earth itself and subdue it as God commanded us to. We do a terrible job of that. And so this mode of existence where we are born and we are headed straight for death at some point. For some people, especially back in this day and age, many of them, most of them, died in infancy or in early childhood. For those that lived, the average life expectancy was about 40 years old. You had many people that lived past that as well, but you had many people that did not live past 40. And Jesus came to say, this kind of life is no life at all. I'm coming to give an abundant life, a life that is lived far past the grave and instead looks forward to that new creation when God makes all things new. That's what we're headed towards. And so he says this as it relates to your life and my life today, knowing there's a life following Jesus that is headed towards the new creation. But the only way to get to that new creation is to end this life. And I'm not saying that as in a you end it. It's whenever God chooses that our life ends, we accept that this life ends and we go to the next life. So Jesus went through this himself. He went through this mode of existence, if you will. He was born of a virgin in Bethlehem. He lived a perfect sinless life. He died on the cross for us, and he was buried, and then he rose again. And when he rose again, he was living the resurrected life, the kind of life that God is going to bring us into as well, and that we can start living right now, and we will, upon our death or Jesus's return, live in full. That Jesus was able to be wherever he wanted to be. He was blipping, if you will, in and out of rooms at his desire. He could enjoy and share meals. He could walk for hours with people and talk and converse with them. He could go through walls. There was just no limitation to what Jesus was able to do in his resurrected life. So he calls us, in recognition of the fact that we are headed towards a better way of living. He says, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. To deny oneself is to say, I could live my life right now trying to hold on tightly to this mode of existence, this kind of way of living. I can live for the houses. I can live for the boats. I can live for the cars, the pleasures of the here and now, the vacations. I can spend all of my time and mental energy and speech and my finances and everything. I can spend it all on this time and this period. Or I can recognize that the life isn't about here and now. It's about what's coming. I'm not wasting, if you will, my treasure and my time and my talents on this earth. I'm doing everything I do to lay up for myself treasures in heaven. And that's what we would read even, I forget in what chapter Luke has the Sermon on the Mount, but Jesus will talk about that. So we deny ourselves. We say, because this life is not where my investment needs to be, I'm going to invest in the coming kingdom, which will look like I am wasting some of my time here on earth because I'm not giving myself the good life here and now. I'm investing in God's kingdom and in God's work and in loving other people. And Jesus tells us in verse 23 that this is a kind of death for us, and it is suffering. He says, take up your cross daily. Nowadays, we would have phrases like, oh, that's just my cross to bear. And it's kind of colloquial for us now as a result of the fact that Jesus conquered death. But during this time, a cross was a way of shame, of suffering. Like, you died. We would say something like, take up your electric chair daily and follow me. It's every single day you are going to encounter suffering and hardship because you don't treat people the way that you could treat people, because you are living for the next kingdom, because you're living for God and not for this earth. So people will mistreat you and you won't get back at them. People will speak evil of you and you don't speak evil back at them. You don't do everything you can to amass as much wealth here and now. And so every single day you are suffering in some way, but you're doing it following Jesus. So you deny yourself what you want, what you could be owed. You embrace suffering here and now, and you follow Jesus. Why do we do this? Verse 24, for whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever says, no, I really value all the stuff. I value people's opinions of me. I value having all of the wealth, and I value these pleasures. They save their life here and now. They lose it in eternity. That everything that you have built up in your life, it's all gone. The moment that your heart stops, the moment that you release your final breath, if you have said, I'm not going to follow Jesus, I'm not going to embrace suffering for him, I'm not going to embrace not having everything that I want, then as soon as your life is done, you lose it all. You can't take a single speck of it with you. All of the money, gone. All of the respect, those people are no longer there with you. He says, but whoever loses his life because of me will save it. Whatever you give up for Jesus, whatever you invest into the kingdom of God, you have reserved it. That the moment your heart stops here, or the moment you release your final breath, you are in the kingdom of God, and all of the things that you gave up here, if you will, they're waiting for you there. Jesus would say this, I think the parallel passage here is Matthew 11, it might be Matthew 10, where Jesus says, there's no one that has given up family relationships or finances or opportunities here on earth who will not get 10 or 50 or 100 times that in the kingdom to come. So for you and I today, we've got to make a choice. Am I going to live today? Am I going to spend my time, my words, my finances today as though this life is all there is? Or am I investing in the kingdom of God? Am I telling other people about the kingdom? Am I loving others? Am I being generous as though I am in this kingdom where there is nothing but abundance? Am I going to share about Jesus with other people? Am I going to give to God's work so that other people are able to do the same, that they are able to accomplish the gospel work? Because if we reserve all of our time, talents, and treasure for this life, we're going to lose it all. But whatever we invest in God's kingdom, none of that will go to waste. And it is a long-term investment that will have eternal dividends. What are you going to choose today? Will you save your life, reserve it for the here and now, or will you pass it on to the next life? Thanks for tuning in today, and hope you have a great day.